Angular is the JavaScript framework champion, and I don't think anybody's gonna take that title from him. What's going on? Oh my God, it's React, and he's brought Vue.js with him. These two mean business, and they're coming for Angular. They're trying to kill Angular. Angular at the hands of React and Vue. Angular is getting crushed. He's finished. Angular.
Wait a second. Angular's still as awesome as ever, right? Hey, how's it going? My name's Hadi Ayoub. I lead one of Australia's fastest growing front-end teams, and it looks like we've got to talk about Angular. First things first though, this video isn't intended to be a front-end framework comparison. Instead, what I want to do is give you my perspective on the most commonly heard talking points both for and against Angular, and I'm hoping that will put you in a better position to arrive to your own conclusions about if Angular is going to be feasible for you. With that out of the way, I'm not going to bury the lead. I freaking love Angular. I've been using it now for over 5 years on a variety of different projects, both small and large, and yeah, it's awesome. If you can get past the fact that it has a pretty steep learning curve, and no, it's not the cool kid on the block anymore, it does what it says on the box and it does it really, really well. In fact, I think if you're a team or an individual who's already using Angular, there's nothing else out there compelling enough to make the switch. Where it gets tricky is if you're an individual who's only just getting into Angular now. There are a few points you've got to consider. Assuming you've got a grasp on web fundamentals like HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, you get up and running in about a day with the help of Angular's Getting Started docs. The catch is, depending on who you have access to, what resources you're using, and how much time you're putting into it, it could take anywhere from 3 to 6 months before you're able to meaningfully contribute to a team. Pretty steep if you ask me. I think the learning curve alone is enough to say to teams who already found success in React or Vue, don't switch to Angular. In general, I think switching tech stacks for marginal benefits is usually a bad idea. For individuals, whilst I know the learning curve can seem equally off-putting, what you need to keep in mind is that in those 3 to 6 months with Angular, you'll have learned a framework that gives you everything you need to build a full-featured front-end application. Routing, HTTP requests, animation, accessibility APIs, just to name a few. With React, you'd have to learn all of these things separately. Online, you'll see this eloquently summed up as Angular is a framework, React is a library. Where do I even start with this one? For Angular defenders, this is that obviously fake Yu-Gi-Oh card you had as a kid that was just so good you had to try and pass it off as real. Look, even if Angular was better suited for enterprise, a quick look at job listings in my area shows that enterprise has clearly had no problem taking up either React or Vue. My hunch is that this one stems from another commonly regurgitated argument that I don't completely buy. Yes, Angular does give you architectural building blocks, but there is still plenty of room for differences between applications. You can still build badly architectured apps in Angular, and this idea that you could go project to project or even company to company and have no ramp-up time simply based off the fact that they're both Angular is crazy. It's a myth. Stop saying it. In fact, one of the tech tests I recently designed is purely architecture-based. Of all the candidate solutions I reviewed, not 2 of them have had the same architecture. So yeah, sure, there is some architectural consistency that comes with Angular being an all-in-one framework, but also, let's not oversell it. I don't really get this one. Angular is opinionated in the same way that the instructions for IKEA furniture are opinionated. Yeah, you've got to do things a specific way, but why would you even want to do them differently? Look, this one would make a bit more sense to me if Angular's out-of-the-box offering sucked, or if React's community hadn't completely converged on like one way to do everything. But outside of that, I just don't get it. Let me put this one to bed this way. If you're having performance issues in any modern front-end framework, Angular, React, Vue, you name it, the problem isn't the framework. At the end of the day, the performance differences between the front-end frameworks is basically negligible. Especially on a medium to large web app, you're going to make so many framework-agnostic design decisions that'll have a way bigger impact on performance than framework choice ever will. Alright, so if we look at the NPM downloads for Angular, React, and Vue, Angular is absolutely getting crushed by React. There's no denying it. Even Vue, which we think about as kind of a niche alternative, it's closing the gap pretty quickly. When we isolate the downloads just for Angular, things don't look as bleak. In fact, it's had pretty consistent growth over the last 5 years. It's not going to win any popularity contests anytime soon, but I also don't think it's going anywhere anytime soon either. Where it's not a popularity contest and more of a real life factor is when we start thinking about the job market. To get a sense for the market, I performed a keyword search for both React and Angular on a popular job board here in Australia. As you can see, both are pretty healthy. I'm now going to compare the number of job listings to each framework's audience size on their respective subreddits. Look, I admit this is completely unscientific, but it does align with my experience trying to find Angular devs here recently. They're in high demand and very short supply. Realistically, in a market like this, you're not going to go wrong learning any front-end framework, but you could actually make the case here that in this regard, Angular is as lucrative as it's ever been. So is Angular the newest, most exciting, most popular framework around? Definitely not. But is it still one worth learning today? I think so. Thanks for watching.